Vrischikasana. The Scorpion Pose. Okay, this is going to be a... oh yeah, hi, first of all. This is going to be a two-way street, a two-way. This video has two phases. And one is... I'm just gonna talk a bit about the Scorpion Pose. And in the background there'll be pictures. And then I'm going to show you two videos that I recorded. And then there's going to be a bit more pictures and a bit more talking. And then after that, there's going to be a video that I recorded. Because trying to express these things is really hard. I mean, we live in a world where everything is being taken for granted. And you can say that I have made all these choices while these choices pressed themselves upon me. Because I love nature. And I was looking for ways to portray my strength for her so that I would start advertising strength rather than laziness and weakness, which is basically what the industry advertises. The industry advertises that you should buy things to make you feel better, that you receive your feeling of power and what you would call a good experience from the things that you have bought with the money that you have received in exchange for your life's energy. Now, these are things which are rarely talked about in such a way, because you have to dig deep in the mud of what has been created thus far to actually get to the truth of who you once were in a world where everybody wants to forget. Everybody wants to forget. So they eat sugar, they escape into short but fleeting highs. And that's also part of the industry, right? It's all short and fleeting, but we must find balance still in ourselves if we choose to do so. And that's what comes together with the freedom of choice, which basically says, I mean, it's your choice to let yourself being taken over by machines. It's your choice to sit around at home and do nothing. It was your choice to study economics because you were just thinking of money. I never made those choices, so I don't have to crawl back out of them. But whatever interests you and what you perceive as valuable can be your way out of whatever you think is holding you. So you want to work yourself out of a toxic environment. You are looking for harmony, but for that you have to first create harmony for yourself. You first have to find balance within yourself. So I have watched many people over many years, and what I see is that they're simply stuck in so many ways that it's basically impossible to get them out of it, because if you go to them and you try to help them to move forward, they will resist because it makes them feel powerful to deny others. So you just give it to yourself. If that made any sense to you, then, congratulations. If it made no sense, then I suppose you have to start digging in your own shit until you understand what I'm talking about. You have to learn new words. You have to look at what is actually happening, and then you have to find your way out of this mess. I never planned on doing the scorpion pose or Vrischikasana. And when I looked at images or videos online after I had discovered that I can do it, what I saw was that people misuse it to be worshipped just for having done it. But you should have a message, because if you have no message, then you're just selfish. And then you're just gonna post yourself doing the scorpion pose for the rest of your days. But what you fail to see is that these yoga poses, which is one form of yoga, the rest happens in the mind, right? It's an inner balance that you're looking for. Holding the posture is not the thing, especially not if you're listening to music while doing it, or if you're following like instructed meditations. That's just bullshit. That's never gonna get you anywhere. You have to do this for yourself and for the message that you carry. So you first have to find what's my message, and for that you have to look at your entire life and then uncover your message. And when you've got the message and you ask yourself, why am I interested in Vrischikasana? Because for me, I've been struggling with what we call a depression. And I started to pick up on the truth about this world, that it is a magical world, but that what people use it here for is basically destruction. So all energy that's been given has been used to destroy things, and this is also what you find in people, which is if you get together, everyone holds a grudge. If you get together in a family reunion or something, everybody wants to stand out and be the best, but let's say you became the best of all of them, they're all gonna hate you because they have no other outlet. So they're just gonna hate you, and then they're gonna gossip, and then they're gonna hold grudges. It's called like this for a reason. If somebody holds a grudge against you, then it's like somebody stabbing you in the back, right? For a very long time. People can hold grudges for what appears to be eons. Make it a few years, but it's gonna feel like eons, because time is relative. So sometimes you have to work off old karma, but you're still gonna remember it as, it happened in this lifetime. And part of what I've been doing is I have been working myself out of being hated by everyone, because I'm simply good at what I do. And that comes with a lot of jealousy. Even jealousy from, let's say, your father, or your mother, or your siblings. They probably cannot control it, or they can too, but they just think they're above that, right? They get off on hurting others in their minds. And I get that, but I also understood that I needed to protect myself, and so I was looking for ways, and there was just one day where I have this poster of yoga poses hanging there, just like that. I never do asanas, I just like to find my own style, which is also what brings me then to the next video, the weekly big like videos. It's the yoga flow that I've been working on for some time now, to simply let go into movement. And so I started to do this Vrischikasana. It just came out of thin air. But when I was there, I realized exactly, I knew what I had to do, and then I did it. And as I kept doing it, all kinds of insights kept flooding into me, telling me that this actually faces off like bad vibes, maybe even bad habits. It faces off other people trying to torture you in their minds, right? It faces off like voodoo and spells. Because in my world, these things clearly exist, and if I look at life the way it's been looking, then I can say, yeah, I mean, magic is clearly getting out of hand. And there are other people who have talked about this, such as Terry Pratchett in, maybe it was The Light Fantastic. Oh, damn it. It doesn't really matter, I let go of this one. But the way I've been working is I simply have an idea and then I talk about it. And then I go through it in my mind. And then I dissect it by looking at it from all kinds of perspectives. So, for some people, they just want power, right? I have met people like this, but they don't know what for. They just want it for themselves. And then they would just, it's like the guy who wants to be powerful so he can punish everyone that ever, where he thinks, But they were just looking for strength, man. That's what you have to see. Most people are just weak, and that's just who they are, and they're just looking for strength. So if you find a place in yourself where you are strong, and you keep building on it, and you are looking for ways how to portray your strength and to advertise to the children of this confused world that there's more to life than just sitting around, just by giving them something active, something creative, something that blows your mind, basically, then you have to be strong and stable and sturdy. And what I will never do is overbend my back. And that's what I've seen in a lot of people who do scorpion poses and then post these pictures. They put their feet on their head. This is bad. This is bad form. Because it's like a tree breaking itself. That's my opinion. What we need is stability, it's strength, it's structure. We need to be stable. And if you have a good structure, then in that structure you can let go into flow. But your spirit needs a good construct, which is why I do stand a lot. I do my flow exercises, animal movement, that kind of stuff. I do my planks. And then I keep practicing Vrischikasana. But I try to not overbend my lower back, because that's where your upper half and your lower half connect. And your lower back is very sensitive. And I have realized that if I overdo it with the Vrischikasana pose, that it's actually bad for me. And then you feel strong now, and then you start doing this, and suddenly actually you're breaking your back again. So what comes in addition with doing yoga poses, I think, is also just, what's a yoga pose? It's just the inner balance, man. And holding difficult postures while maintaining this inner balance, that's what yoga is about. That while you're holding the pose, you're in peace. You may feel hatred or anger, but you learn to release it, and then make the energy available for something else maybe, which is then art, or I don't know, whatever you do. I always let go into creation because that opposes basically that what I have tried to face, which is then the destruction also of human spirits. Of spirits, I mean, what happened in the Dark Ages was clearly torture, and they moved the torture into the mind, trapping spirits in like a virtual prison so that you make it forget who it came here to be, so that it can be controlled and its life force be extracted. That's the idea of the Matrix. And these things are pulling you into their clutches, and there may be things that have a hold over you that you cannot even see yet. And I'm talking about seeing with your third eye, with your spiritual eye. It's about bringing it both together. I always see what's on the surface, but I always have an eye out for what's happening underneath. And that helps me to move very aware and conscious through this energetic ocean that we find ourselves in. And this is where the scorpion pose comes in, because sometimes you are being threatened by outside forces. But what I have realized is that most people who hold grudges or do their fake voodoo shamanism shit, they're all weak. Because they just sit around, they don't actually know what they're doing because they've never looked. They never actually gone to great lengths to experience something threatening or scary. So how should someone overcome me if I have done my homework and I learned to cleanse myself and pick up on when I'm being manipulated? And then one thing you can do, if you feel like there is a spiritual opponent, you can face it off with the scorpion pose. But sometimes it's not enough to just do it at home. Sometimes you have to maybe go to a place and then do it there, because, you know, as above so below. If you have read maybe the Dresden Files, where the Never Never is being described as like a parallel dimension to what you see on the surface, to this kind of ordinary reality, there's always a second world next to it. There, you know, all dimensions run next to each other, which is then what Cloud Atlas teaches you. So, whether you believe this to be a fantasy or not, to me this is very real, and I have simply started to deal with it, and it has helped me to simply acknowledge the spiritual. And so sometimes I find myself in a situation where I simply feel like something's dragging me down into a swamp or trying to get me to do things. Like I'm still facing off, you know, porn and this self-satisfaction with masturbation, and just now where I say it, I actually feel like I want to do it again. There's always this pressure building up in my scrotum area. This pressure building up. It's actually not the scrotum, it's more like the pineal gland. No, it's not the pineal gland, it's that muscle between your anus and your scrotum. It's called I'm not quite sure. I have a problem with this because there's always this pressure and it just feels like I'm not sure what to do with all of this energy. And sometimes it's just too much and then I release. And sometimes I release and then suddenly I can be more creative again. Because sometimes I don't want to leave the house. Sometimes I just want to stay inside and practice and maintain my inner silence. Sigh into art, cry into art. And so what Vrischikasana has become for me is something that just shows me where I stand. If I can do it, okay, I'm doing good. If I cannot do it anymore, then I have to pick up something. If I cannot wake up and do planks, which is probably something I should test every day, but I'm also still learning these things. I'm still figuring it out for myself. I also stretch out my content, especially on my podcasts, so that people cannot get to the real stuff without really wanting to know about it, right? And in the end, it's also being in the presence of someone who has gone a long way, who has traveled the distance, is sometimes already enough to stabilize you when you're in a state of distress. So I think what we really needed was people that acknowledge the spiritual, which is also the emotional. Because that's what has been drowning a little. People trying to reduce it to what's on the surface and then just treating each other like assholes. So sometimes I really feel like somebody's trying to pull me to go somewhere else. And then I just focus on myself, I do something that helps me, and then sometimes I just do the scorpion pose, and then it's gone. And then it clears my vision. I always keep my eyes open. This is part of my open eye meditation. And sometimes I do these things and suddenly I get to a place where there's just water running out of my eyes. And suddenly I feel like tension is being alleviated. I never really give in to being too sentimental. I feel there is sentimentality, or there may be room for it, but I'd rather be hard. Because what's the point of being weak these days? You just have to toughen up. And so I will never tell you to do the scorpion pose. I'm just gonna talk to you about it and then show you how I'm doing it. But whether that's for you is your choice. You should not. The goal of this pose is not to break your back and put your feet on your head. Imagine a scorpion. If a scorpion would do that, he'd have stung himself. This is to face off something spiritual. And that's your stinger. Why would you put your stinger on your head? I mean, that's the scorpion that lost his mind. So, you should always pay attention and focus on what these poses originally meant. Because most people that you see, and that includes groups like Yoga Vidya, they don't know anymore. They forgot what yoga used to be for. For them it's just making money. And that's 99% of every human you will ever meet. They will never understand. That's 99% of every human you will ever meet. They will never understand. The people that understand will be 1%. The rest just has dreadlocks because they think it looks nice. But how many people have hair because they think it actually there's a reason for it? Most people just have it as some kind of a crown, or how they used to wear wigs. Nobody needs a nose ring or weird tattoos. I've been checking out these wild nomad people. Sorry, all I see is it's just more of the same. They're just trapped in the outside world. Because their focus is solely on how they look like. There's nothing creative in this. They're just focused on this is how I look like. They never reach deep. And this is why I reject them. And I can do this. And it's also part of my purpose to simply show where people are clinging. I mean, how much jewelry do you need? You know, if you cannot understand what makes you an individual without having nose rings and hundreds of tattoos and tattoos in your face, then you will never understand who you are. You have to let go of this is the outside world, and focus on this is what I feel. And what I feel is tattoos are basically cutting yourself. You know, that's just people that are in pain and that want to have more of it. Right? So people who have like earrings and nose rings, they're all looking just for pain. But I'm looking for healing. You know, all these tattoos, that's one form of Bondism. And in a way, sometimes I still feel like I could see myself getting a tattoo, but then it would have to be some kind of natural ink, and it would have to be done by someone who understands something about energy flow. And then it would have to be someone who understands also that it cannot be done with a machine. It would have to be some kind of like natural thing. Like how I don't know, maybe Maui people did it. So I'm just saying, there's sometimes things that you have to figure out for yourself. And so I talk about it, I do it, but I cannot tell you what you should do. I do it when I feel like doing it. I don't sit around and do this pose the entire day. I do it when I feel like it. And I think that's what I came here to say, right? Do what you feel like doing, and then you can let me do what I'm doing, and can stop projecting what you want on myself and just do it yourself. And that's then what some consider to be freedom. Just do you, right? But do it for nature, because she needs help. And most people just do it for themselves. Do it for nature. You know, I'd rather leave. I'd rather leave. If it weren't for nature, I'd be gone. You can trust me on that one. I simply stayed because nature needed help and still needs it, and that's why I'm here. Okay? You know, that's what I'm for. That's the purpose of my existence. She's raised me to be strong so I can, you know, communicate to self-centered assholes that they should stop worshipping themselves and start worshipping nature by going into nature, by feeling for nature, and that includes the nature in human beings, that includes the nature in what we call dogs or you, right? That includes every single living thing. And that's what I truly mean. And now I'm going to give you these first two instances which I recorded where I did the scorpion pose or realized that I can do it, you know, somewhere along those lines. And then I'm gonna lead this over to the recording I made the other day, which is then the freshest thing I have for you. I recorded it somewhere on Easter Sunday. I think it was the 31st of March. And you may find something in there. Yeah, I cannot always look at everything I've said, but for me it's especially about also the spiritual side. And that you should not overarch your lower back. And that brings me back to planks. Do your planks. Planks on your elbows, on stretched out arms, and then planks also backwards. So, right, that your feet are on your heels and your back is pointing downwards, but you're like stiff as a board, and that trains your lower back. Because you need strength and stability for energy to flow properly and for your spirit to feel right at home. And that's then all you gotta do, amongst other things. So, yeah, good luck with that. Okay. Okay, I'm planning ahead, but I also still want to show what I can do. Maybe I'm just bored, but I just managed to go straight into the scorpion pose, which is apparently called Vrischikasana. Now I have problems to remember, like, I look up, there are different versions of how to write it. It's like Vri and then SCH, and then there's like it's like a CH, just, it doesn't matter, it's the scorpion pose. Okay, so normally I did it from the headstand position, so I'd first go into this, and then go up, and then place my hands like this, and then go into the scorpion pose. And that's just really exciting for me. And I have this really annoying habit of sharing these things, because I feel like I have to prove that it's really real, otherwise people lose track. Okay, enough of the talking, let's just try it. So, it's not perfect. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's, you know, I mean, for me it's enough. It's like, yeah. But I built it up the entire day. And I just drank a coffee, double shot espresso with some oat milk, garam masala spice blend without garlic or salt in it, and green cardamom, probably like 8 pods, and that pushed it out. And then I had this idea to take the picture, like, this is now the second time. Okay, I did it once there, and then I did it once here for the picture. Now I did it again. I mean, what's there more to say other than, welcome my friend, you learned a new trick. And so yeah, I'm just starting with recording for YouTube 2025. It's gonna take some time. I have to build it up, take more time with these creations, even more time, and then see where it's gonna lead. All right. Every day a fresh start. That's a balancing exercise, which is what life used to be about. It's you wake up and you fall asleep again, and that's consciousness. Because consciousness does come in waves. I know there's people that never sleep. Not sure if that is something that you should achieve. All I can say is that it could be a goal to figure out how little sleep you need, but at the same time, of course, it could also be like a trap. And now, okay, I have not realized that this is what I'm gonna do now, but now I'm gonna do it. I have, it seems, transcended my short-haired self. I thought I was to record a video about Vrischikasana, but now I also feel the need to defecate, which is a real bummer. Now, often people are really stuck. Now, this is unexpected. I didn't know I had to do Vrischikasana now. But there's something I have to explain to you, which is you may be closer to truth than other people. But that also brings you in a place of responsibility. And that means responsive responsibility. And what responsive responsibility means is that you do the job that you feel you can do, and then you devote your life to bringing consciousness to the people. If you feel drawn to pottery, then you do pottery. If you feel drawn to discovering your own style of yoga, which will eventually bring you to the realization that somebody may have already discovered it at some point, but it got lost on the way, and people only focused on the form. And that's the problem with having a teacher. Right? Now you've got a teacher that teaches you things, and then he's got a certificate because he went to a school and they taught him things, but he never learned the true art of balancing things in himself, which is why he just sits around and tries to present something that he is not, because he never figured out who he is, which is why the best teaching is an upaguru, which is life, which is the only thing you should ever learn from. So you keep living your life, and you don't really have disciples. You just do what you do, and that's the teaching. And if somebody else fails to see what he is here to do, well, then that's his path to liberation. And so what Vrischikasana is I often feel when I spend time with other people that they put like a hex on me, which is gossip, which is their constant bickering about everything, which is hating others. You know, that's a bit harsh, because when I say things like this, I'm basically doing the same thing. But I often feel like if we separate and then we come back together, there's like a bad vibe. And this is what I have been trying to overcome. And one practice that I feel like helped me was getting to the place where I could actually do Vrischikasana. So there's actually nothing I can tell you about Vrischikasana, which is the scorpion pose, other than do it if you feel like it. Just because you watch this video doesn't mean you have to do it, and it also doesn't mean you should be doing it all the time. You do it when you really feel the urge. Like if you cannot resist doing it any longer and everything in you is screaming, I want to do it right now, then you do it. Now I started to do Vrischikasana on tree stumps, such as this one. Why? Because I'm here for nature. I'm defending nature. And this was clearly sawed off with a chainsaw, which is the industry, which is basically ignorance, which is fear, which is greed. And that is which I stand somewhat against, because I'm here for nature. I'm nature's voice. I'm speaking for nature. And for that I first have to teach people how to communicate and to get rid of all these fungi that make them into something else. So you've got to clean your mind. And when you've done all the things you think you need to do, and then suddenly there's this opening and it says, Vrischikasana, do it now. But first you do your planks. And I have already released a video called Building Up Strength for Vrischikasana, or Building Up Strength for the Scorpion Pose. I have already released that, and that means you have to do lots and lots of planks. So what yoga then becomes is not just, oh, I've got a sexy butt and I'm wearing tight pants and I have to look like this if I'm a yogi. No! If you try to look like me, you'll never be yourself. Yoga is the path of truth, the path of enlightenment, which gives you back yourself, which means you have to make an active choice. And then you have to find yourself. And now I see my opening, there's people coming often, it's like a stage. I'm just gonna put the camera in the position that I feel like it ought to be in. And then I'm just gonna do this, because I'm also here to show people to like literally blow their minds. And then afterwards I'm gonna do it again, only then I'm gonna take a picture. So these videos don't have to be super long all the time, but life presents you with certain opportunities that you can then take or leave. Let's see if I manage. Like sometimes this is really hard work. Okay. So one perspective that I have gathered about life is, I mean, this changes reality. I'm serious. Which is why you have to first build up strength. This is no child's play. I haven't had anyone telling me that I should do this. I simply started doing this. Right. So to get my strength back, I didn't just eat leaves or something. I followed my feeling all the way. And that means following your feeling in all kinds of matters, such as when to do what to do when, if to do it at all, what to drop, what to pick up, when to change yourself, when to stay like this, how long. You know, it's all about timing. It's about the, call it the intrinsicality, like the fine-tuning of whatever you're doing, right? So you don't have to like punch your child in the face, you just give it a gentle nudge. which is what I've been now doing to balance the energy flow in myself and to enhance my meditation and to keep my mind in the center, which then means I look at the world and the image I have is getting clearer and clearer and clearer, which is why you get rid of your lies, which starts with your glasses, and then you work on your eyes so you can see truth, which is there's a spiritual side, which is probably this one, and then there's a worldly side, whatever, you know. Is it really like this? Well, there's a lot of people who have a lazy eye, right? They forget about the spiritual, and it's imbalanced. You start getting sick if you spend time with your content. It makes you sick, literally sick, because they only see half. And the rest just looks somewhere else, and then it just makes up really weird stuff. I cannot listen to this. And so you just have to take back your time. And it's probably better to read than to listen to an audiobook, unless the person who reads the audiobook knows what this is about, feels it, because he understands where the author was coming from. There's no point to listen to an audiobook from someone who just prides himself to have a good voice, because you listen to it, but the message fails to reach you. And that's my message. You have to be very, very picky with the people you spend time with the content you spend time with the music you spend time with. You go for quality instead of quantity. So it takes me a very long time to produce the content I'm producing, which is why I got rid of a lot of things just so that I have the time to keep producing. Now we're heading towards summer, and I'm getting ready to spend more time in nature. And that's what's important to me as an individual, as a human. And now my path is almost clear, but still a bit weird. But I seem to take charge in the area that I find myself in. And maybe occasionally I may go on road trips, because the world is still there. But it may be also so that I will never leave for longer than I have to, and that's gonna be then my message. I still have to figure out how to do this. It's okay if you don't get everything I say, or he says, because when you listen or watch this, listen to this or watch this, then he no longer exists, because he will be transcended from the moment I turn off the camera and leave this place. Which is why each video is also part of my art, which is what all art is, which is transcendence and engaging with the world and turning a kind of like visual experience into a clearly felt experience, which is why we go hiking, why we do things that matter to nature, because we are her children that went rogue and started hacking her to bits. And so that's our way back into, that makes sense. Here I can be spirit, here I can be in the middle, and this is what truth is, right where you are. And that sometimes is very hard, because not everyone will agree. And that is why, right, voodoo happens already in the mind. You know, everyone is a spellcaster, everyone. And they try to keep you blind, because they used your energy for other things. And that's what you gotta realize. Nobody is really your friend, but there may be people that want to work together with you. But then they have to do their cleansing. If you've done it, then they have to do it. Otherwise, what's the point? So now I'm just trying to figure it out, see what's gonna happen, release into the experience of being alive. And so once more, I have taken an opportunity and simply recorded this video as a reminder that there are beings out there who practice this. They may do so in secret, but we're heading towards a phase of humanity where this overproduction, what is the word superfluous just came to me. Superfluous means nothing probably, I don't know. It's about working for nature and raising awareness where you are. Because whatever you see in the news and these mass media is just a projection of their agenda. I'm sorry, but that's just how I see the world. You say, oh, you cannot say this, you cannot say this. Why can I not say this? Because it is the way. They make money with selling weapons. That's just truth. Well, you cannot say this because we still need to do this. Yeah, but you make money with selling weapons, and for that, you advertise war. And that's all we see. And you create war by polarizing the nations of the world and the people. Zack. And that's why you give children sugar, so that they're easier to control. And that's all out in the open. This cannot be put off as it's simply a coincidence, because they've got smart people as well. But just being smart doesn't mean you're working for life. Because fear controls, fear gives others sugar to control them. But somebody who wants to meditate and be balanced should take responsibility and look straight ahead. And that can never be done if you're stuck on all these weird things that humans do. Okay, I'm just gonna take a few pictures now doing Vrischikasana and then put it on YouTube, I suppose. Just hammering people with content until they acknowledge that I've got something to give, otherwise they just think I'm an AI or something. Even now you may think I may be AI, because how can somebody like this exist? Well, try having an AI generating somebody who's like me. I'm just saying, your paranoia is your problem. Your distrust is your problem. And in the end, whether or not I'm AI, right? Now I'm playing with your fear, shouldn't matter to you, because what's mind? If you see what whoever Christopher is doing, and it inspires you, then start doing it yourself. Never be trapped in somebody else's mind or content. Start honing your own mind. Start living your own life. Share things if you feel like it. And that's my message to whoever listened to this. You need no dog. You just need to be yourself. Let dogs be wolves again and let them roam freely so we can be true humans. And you see how fake humans from the industry and from cities shit their pants in the face of real humans. And that's a fact. Because imbalanced people are still imbalanced. And that's why I started producing this. That's it.